The following program is seen statewide on California Public Television. It was one of those picture-perfect spring mornings, and we were barreling down Kelbaker Road, which cuts right through the Mojave National Preserve. Established back in 1994 as part of the California Desert Protection Act, the preserve contains over 1.6 million acres in one of the most beautiful, environmentally important, and remote areas of our state. Now, we were on our way to a reunion and a dedication all rolled into one, a big party taking place in the desert in one of California's golden parks. Okay, we are starting our adventure, and we are starting our adventure on the tracks. But these just aren't any old tracks. These are very historic tracks, and here to tell us the history and the significance of these tracks is James Woolsey, who's with the National Park Service. James, tell us exactly why these are so important to the history of California and the entire West.
Absolutely. I mean, this was a very important link in the Transcontinental Railroad system. And this was the link between Salt Lake City and Los Angeles. And they came through in 1905 and was hugely important. The city of Las Vegas dates from the founding of this railroad.
So in 1905, they cut this track through the middle of it's deserted.
The middle of nowhere. It's the six, absolutely.
It is.
Yes.
It would have really been the middle of nowhere back in 1905.
Oh, can you imagine the work that would have gone into doing something like this in 1905 with hand labor and crews of hundreds of people out here, cutting this stuff? Just beyond us is Devil's Playground, which is a huge sand field, and these guys working out here. Incredible.
So they were cutting through the deserted, hot
Mojave Desert. Yes, they were.
But when they got to this particular spot, it was almost like a little oasis. And now it's time for us to give away exactly why we're here. Look over here. This is magnificent, right out here in the middle of the desert. Tell us what we're looking at right now.
So when the railroad came across through here, they built a small depot in 1905, but in 1924, they built this magnificent structure. And think about it like any other business that exists today. They want to develop their corporate identity. And this was the corporate identity for the Union Pacific Railroad. And might I say, it's a very successful identity.
What was it? Was it a rooming house? Was it it says lunchroom there on the outside? What went on here?
It was a lot of things. For one thing, this town got to be quite big, 1,500 people at its peak about World War II. And so they had offices for the railroad guys. There was a lunch counter where passenger traffic would stop and eat, and then also the railroad guys would stop and eat. There were rooms upstairs where the guys lived. Downstairs, there's a big basement. That's where they had church services.
Oh, wow.
They also had a pool table. So, normally the pool table's out in the middle of the room, and then on Sunday they'd push it off in the corner and they'd have their church services.
So this was the heart and soul of not only the town of Kelso, which kind of grew up around it, the little town of Kelso, but this whole part of California, the California desert.
It really is. And I mean, when you see all these people that are here, all these people have a connection to Kelso, and it's amazing the number of people who lived in Kelso. And when you come and look at the place, it's kind of hard to imagine that there was a town here, but there was a town here.
And the reason the people are here today and the reason we are here today is because this is a big day, a wonderful day in Kelso. Tell us what exactly is happening here today.
So the park itself, Mojave National Preserve, was created in 1994. So, it's been over a decade now. We've been working to open our main park visitor center really since the park was created. And today is the day that we're having our grand opening.
So it's no longer a depot because it ceased being a depot and actually sat out here. I've been here before, back when it was deserted. But it's now been refurbished and restored and has a whole new life as the park headquarters.
It really does, and it's a great story because in 1985, the Union Pacific Railroad abandoned the building and they wanted to tear it down. And local citizens, local politicians, they basically petitioned to have it not be torn down. And so this jewel was saved. They had the demolition crews on the way to tear the thing down.
Wow.
And so now it's been saved and it's going to be the main visitor center for the park.
Well, we didn't have to go very far to start getting stories. Your name is?
Brian Wolford.
And you live here in Kelso today.
Yep.
Where do you live?
Right there across the tracks.
In one of those...
trailer right there.
In a trailer.
Yeah.
But you, obviously, if you've been here 29 years, you've seen this depot go up and down and up and down.
Yes, I remember the day they closed it.
Well, tell us what it was like in its heyday.
Well, actually, back in those days, the business was booming around here because they had houses on both sides of the tracks. And there was always kids and gangs, the old steel gangs, B&B gangs, and...
From the railroad?
Yeah, from the railroad.
Did you work on the railroad?
I worked for the railroad.
Boy, they're coming out of the woodwork today. Everybody's coming home.
They really are.
Now, you all didn't, your sisters.
We're sisters.
You didn't ever live here.
No.
But your parents did.
Our grandparents.
Your grandparents did.
Yes.
And what kind of stories have you heard over the years about this?
Well, just stories of our mother who grew up here, going to the one-room schoolhouse, and every Saturday night they'd get together and they'd have anybody that played a musical instrument played it, and they had a dance and just had a great time.
Here in the depot?
Yes.
You know, I should have asked one of the old timers here, but I have heard that the grass has always been green out here in front of this depot. Is that true?
When they had a caretaker here up into the early 80s, it was green. There were beautiful hedges and rose bushes here. As a kid, I remember coming here, and it was really astonishing. And even when the railroad stopped coming here, there was always a caretaker taking care of the grounds, I think probably as part of a PR thing for the Union Pacific.
So from the earliest days, the Union Pacific Railroad wanted to make this depot here in Kelso this oasis, this place of tranquility and rest and wonder.
Yes. In World War II, I believe it was about 3,000 people we had here because of the Kaiser Steel mine, Vulcan mine, which was just to the east of here.
Wow, there's a lot of history here, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah.
We're visiting the old home place here in Kelso. Your name is?
Marilyn Acey.
And Jerry Fennell.
Brother and sister, and you used to live with your family here in Kelso. Where, right over here?
Right there.
Well, that's not the house. It's been replaced now.
Indeed it has, but that's the approximate location.
And when did you live here, and what was it like living in Kelso?
Well, we lived here from 1945 until I was married in 1961.
And got out of town.
And got out of town.
What was it like to live here? You were out in the middle of nowhere.
It's a very remote location. As a matter of fact, we had to go to Needles or Las Vegas for groceries. We had to go away to Barstow to go to high school and to college thereafter. So there was a lot of commuting involved when you lived in Kelso.
Well, it had to be kind of an exciting place, too, with all these trains coming through all the time.
I got to hang the mail for my mother.
You did what?
Hang the mail in an old mail bag with an arm on it, and you'd hang it out on this thing, and the train would come by and with another arm and pick it up.
They'd pick it up without even stopping.
Right.
A big arm would come out and grab the bag and pull it in, and that way you could transfer mail without the train stopping.
You all were really then a very prominent family. Your father was the foreman, your mother was the postmaster.
Right. And when we'd start each school year down here, they'd march us all up that street to the depot to the baggage room where we were all weighed to start the school year.
This is background music. This is what you grew up in the desert loving. And but it does take a little getting used to, but once you're used to it, it's very normal.
Yeah, and there was always a safety issue about being off the tracks. Your parents told you, stay away from the tracks?
Definitely there was. There used to be a sidewalk right through here, and the kids would come out and play when the trains were not going by, but when the trains were in the vicinity, you were expected to clear off the sidewalk.
And your dad was the foreman, so you better clear off
That's right. I was probably reprimanded more than once.
So does this bring back a rush of memories right here?
It does. When I look down that way and see all those trees, you know who planted those? My dad planted those to stop the sand dunes from blowing over on the tracks.
So they're there on purpose to keep the sand dunes.
Right, and it made the maintenance of the tracks easier. That was my dad's idea.
So everywhere you go when you come back here, you're touching part of your past, part of your family's
That's
history.
exactly right. My dad's name was Casey because he was a railroader. That was a nickname that he was known by on the UP Railroad.
Wow. Here comes the train, and here comes Theo. Theo, you were part of this town for a long time.
Right.
How many years?
About 25.
You lived here 25 years.
Right.
Well, what's it like being back here today?
It's amazing. I can't believe it. Can't believe it's the same.
Well, the whole time you lived here, there probably weren't this many people here at one time, were there?
Never, never. In fact, the road didn't even go through. When they came into Kelso by car, they had to go back the same way. They couldn't go through.
There was nothing that would take you further out.
No, there's no road further out.
This was the end of the line.
So they had to turn around and go back.
You kind of had to make your own fun, your own entertainment when you lived out here, didn't you?
Yes.
Nothing was handed to you. You had to kind of come up with it.
Right. We had to dance once in a while in the basement here. And I remember one time we went to Vegas to get the orchestra. Two guys. One played a fiddle and one horn.
And that was the orchestra?
That was it. My cousin and I drove them down here, and we had to dance in the school, and they danced till about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they got the train back.
So this was a big deal.
Oh, yes. Everybody in town and for miles around, ranches and everywhere, came to this dance.
They're standing outside the old depot. You all must be, what did they call people from Kelso? Kelsonians? What were
Kelsonians is right.
Kelsonians. Are you all three Kelsonians?
Yes.
So what do Kelsonians talk about when you get together on a day like this?
How much beer we drank while we lived here?
No, we were all miners when we lived here, so we weren't drinking much beer.
When were you here?
1946, 47, and a piece of 48.
So this was kind of, it was in its heyday then, wasn't it? Or did it already started going down? Or?
Oh, it was at its heyday. This was a growing metropolis here, really. I mean, I say when we lived here, there's probably a population of about 500. A little grocery store, a little bar behind the grocery store.
Did you appreciate it then, or did you want to leave and go to the big city?
Well, I was about 5 years old, so this was the big city to me at that time.
But when people grew up here, did they want to stay here, or did they want to get out as fast as they could?
They wanted to leave here. There was nothing here but you. You know, and we came back out here over the years, all during the 50s and the early 60s. We used to come out here and camp. And the only house that's still standing here in this town is the house that we lived in, and that's on the other side of the tracks.
And there for a while, this depot might not have even been standing.
Well, the only reason it was standing is so many people fought so hard to keep them from tearing down just a thing that's been here since the 20s.
Yeah.
Why tear something down this beautiful that's been here for so long?
So this really became a groundswell of support from all kinds of people to save the depot.
That's right. Everybody wanted this to be saved just for the piece of the history.
Okay, we're inside the depot. I've just met these two gentlemen. And gentlemen, we're now kind of inside the, well, this was where it all happened right here. Explain to everybody what we're looking at right here.
Well, this is a replica of the original horseshoe counter that was in this depot. That probably from the time it was built until 1948, that was the shape configuration.
So this is where people ate?
Oh, yes.
Did you eat here?
Not on that counter, because by the time I got here, it was just a single counter ran from the wall across. But I ate on that one a lot.
But you've eaten in here?
Yes.
Have you eaten in here?
No, I haven't actually ate at this counter, but I slept here a number of times. My father was an itinerant minister from Yermo, and he'd come up here and hold church services, and we'd ride the rails from Yermo to Kelso, get off, hold a church service, go upstairs and sleep for a while and wait for the westbound to come through, and then we'd hop back on and go back to Yermo.
Well, that's a better story than the lunch counter story would have been. But you all never ate here?
No, we ate at the parishioners' homes that were across the tracks here.
You were getting home-cooked meals at the parishioners' house.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what kind of food could you get here? Because this is...
Get just about anything. I think my favorite, when I was big enough to remember, was a hamburger steak, about $1.15. But the thing was, when my mom and sister would go to town, I'd always try to talk my dad into coming over here for dinner. So we come over here and eat that hamburger steak. That was it.
So this was a big deal to come here and eat at this counter. A lot of activity, a lot of energy here.
Well, the energy and the activity all revolved around the railroad. If there were, say, a freight train stopped here and the crew was eating, they would be in here. They had extra guys that worked in here from Las Vegas that would stay upstairs and eat here. There might be a couple of guys from the mechanical department would also be staying here and would eat here.
We're walking up the stairs to the second floor of the depot because this was really an important part of the story as well, wasn't it?
It certainly was. This is where the train workers would stay.
So all of these were rooms.
Right, all these little rooms, all these doors that you see led to dormitory rooms that the train workers used.
Dormitory rooms?
Dormitory style rooms.
So this was not a hotel?
It wasn't a hotel.
It wasn't a B&B?
No way, no way.
Well, where are we heading right now?
We're heading down to the end of the hall here because the last two rooms are outfitted with historic furnishings to show how it looked in the 20s and 30s when the railroad workers would stay here.
So this was about as basic as it got. These are almost like cots here, aren't they?
They're pretty simple, yeah. They're basic beds and just the simplest table and chair and a place to hang your jacket. Now actually the rooms on this side of the tracks facing the tracks were a little bit noisier than the rooms on the opposite side.
Yeah, because the train was going by right there.
So this was for the lowbrow workers on this side.
And you've got the Union Pacific blankets on here.
I certainly do.
I shouldn't sit.
You can give it a shot.
Come on, let's sit on it together. Boy, yeah. I hope there was more on these springs than's on there right now.
Yeah, actually the mattress on the other side is a little better. So if you want to sit down in the other room, it might be more comfortable.
You got the view over here, but you got the mattress across the hall.
That's right.
They're coming down the hall and they're reliving history, right?
Right.
Tell us what history you're reliving up here.
Well, my father worked for Union Pacific. His name was Howard Acord, and he worked for UP for 46 years, and he used to... We lived in Topeka, Kansas, but he used to stay here and eat at the beanery. Yeah.
Is that what they called it, the beanery?
Yeah, Mom can tell you that.
And he stayed in these little rooms?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever come out with him?
No.
You stayed in Topeka?
Yes, I did.
He came to Kelso?
He went all over the system.
Mm-hmm. Well, what did he have nice to say about Kelso?
He liked it very much. Good food. He liked the food.
Okay, we've hooked up with the superintendent. Your name is?
I'm Dennis Schramm.
You have got to be excited about the crowd here today and about this depot.
This is a tremendous day. I mean, this is really a turning point for Mojave. And this Kelso Depot is a great resource that's come a long ways from being nearly torn down to the details that went into making it what it is today.
Yeah, because you worked hard on the details, and we're getting ready to see one of the details right here. We've hooked back up with our cast of characters here. Fellas, did you all know each other? Did you all hang out together when you were in Kelso, or is this kind of a new thing going here?
These are my younger brothers, so I mean they were pretty well snotty-nosed and in diapers. I was about 10, 11 years old.
Wait, you all are brothers?
Yeah, we're all brothers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, unfortunately, we're all brothers.
Oh, wow. Okay, now we have come to this room for you all to tell us about the history and the significance of what this place is all about.
This is the depot here. This is where all of the main gear went through. There was a telephone here. You get your Western Unions here. You'd send Western Union. This was kind of like the nerve center of the town. I mean, without this depot here, what would be here?
But I mean, this room itself, this is where people would buy the tickets here?
Right here, you get your tickets from under here. And then
there was only one telephone in town.
Where was the phone?
Oh, it's hanging out down here. When you use the phone here.
Oh! Ha!
Pick it up here.
There you go.
This was the only phone in town.
This was the only phone in town, and it was run by the railroad. And
so would there be a line of people?
Oh no. This phone wasn't for your convenience. This was a company phone. Now you could get emergency messages on it. You know, if somebody had to speak to somebody emergency-wise, then they would call you in and say, okay, they're going to call back at noon.
But this was the only phone in town.
Only phone. There was nobody had a phone other than this phone right here.
And look at this. It really did open and close like this?
Yep, that's how they let you use the phone.
Oh my gosh.
And they did all the dialing, all the ringing in there. As you see, there's no dial on here. And I believe Kelso was 1 long and 2 short. That was the ring for Kelso.
Okay, the tour continues, and now we're in the old...
This is the old baggage room.
The old baggage room.
This is where the cart was kept at that delivered the mail and delivered anything that was going to get on the passenger train when it was leaving.
This was a serious place here.
Oh yes, this was a well-guarded place. You didn't play around in this place. We
got a mail bag. We got some old bags left over. This place is very historically correct.
Yes, it is. And even some of this stuff was actually here. So a lot of this stuff has come back to us from people that have it in their collections or whatever.
Wow,
so
that's great. We've gotten special dispensation to go back into the room. Now we're on the other side of the
secret telephone.
Ticket. Oh, here's the secret telephone right here. And we're on the other side of the ticket office. So this is where they would sell the tickets here, and then over here, this is the nerve center.
This is where all the telegraph was at, and everything was typed up and sent out over the air.
So they had a telegraph going here, they had the typewriter, they had the phone here.
Western Union pad.
So this was a very important place.
It was a very important place. As you can see, as you look around this room, if you look at the floor, you can see how much wear is on the floor just from moving back and forth from being busy in here.
Look at this.
It's just wore right down to past the
time. From the chair over to the ticket counter.
Right. Here's where all the ticket books and stuff were stashed in all these drawers in here.
Wow, look at this. Boy, if these old counters could talk.
If they could talk, they'd tell you a few stories.
And as a kid, as a young person, to stand on that side of the ticket window and look in here, this must have been a place.
Oh, this was a place of awe. I mean, this was where you can't come in there. This is where all the men are at. I mean, I had trouble getting my head over that counter over there to see in here.
Yeah.
So, and when they caught you in here, you were gone. Get out. You can't play.
You had to come here on business.
This was a business. This was strictly business place. This wasn't a place to come and hang out and play.
And over here in the corner is something that we heard about earlier in an interview today. Tell us what this is.
This is a letter hanger.
A letter hanger. We met the daughter of the postmaster who said she used to hang letters for her mother. So tell us how this worked.
Letters would be attached to the string. The string come down here and held it tight. As the train would come by, the man would hold his arm out, and as it came by, hold your arm out. He would come by and you would catch it.
On the train?
On the train moving, and the person on the platform would stand up and wait for you to catch you, and they could move it back and forth.
What if you dropped the letter?
You waited for the next train.
You waited for the next train. Now this is interesting. How did you get a Union Pacific Railroad January 19? This is a 1943 calendar.
It is, and an interesting part of restoring an old depot like this is where do you find everything that was here 60 years ago? Well, Union Pacific's got a museum. So we got some things from them. A lot of people that lived here at the time kept stuff, and so stuff keeps rolling back to us. A lot of stuff on eBay, you know.
This is priceless right here.
Yeah.
You've got the Union Pacific Railroad calendar. You've got the Union Pacific Railroad timetable. You've got, here's the schedule here between Salt Lake and Los Angeles. The old stamps that they used to stamp things with. This is amazing.
It is amazing.
And it's only going to get better. I bet you get even more stuff.
Today, and a visitor came in, and they had brought us an old stamp that was used here that says American Express and then Kelso, and it was used to seal wax. they brought it and donated it to us today. So, I mean, those kind of things are happening all the time. Man,
It just gets better.
it's exciting, yeah.
1985, the bulldozers were here to push it down.
They were literally here.
They were here. Fortunately, somebody who worked for the county said, you know, they don't have a demolition permit. That stalled it long enough to get the BLM involved, congressmen involved. Suddenly, a lot of people said this building is worth saving.
Isn't it interesting how a building that's been sitting somewhere deserted for a long time in a town that's kind of faded away and everybody's moved away suddenly reemerges on the scene, and people begin to realize how important it is?
You try and save it, you got to raise money. We put in the sprinkler system twice just to keep the building looking alive.
Yeah.
So the windows don't go, the building doesn't get burnt down, it looks alive.
Yeah.
And we did that for 1985, 86, through 91 when it became under federal ownership. And here it is, restored.
Yeah.
Restored.
Yeah.
Wow!
We needed a visitor center in the park, and this is the perfect location. And the fact that this beautiful historic building was here that really was about to be torn down and we could save and use as a visitor center.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much better than that.
No, it doesn't. And this restored visitor center, which is alive and well and full of activity today, but will also be full of activity for generations to come, this old depot and the Mojave National Preserve, all of this is definitely a fine example of one of California's golden parks. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure in one of California's golden parks. You know, we have so many wonderful parks in our state, all of them well worth a visit. And if you'd like to go on this particular adventure again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library. Well, it's available on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.